Completely, they were even weirder, and that's the great thing about literature is that I get to do this weird shit because in film you can't.
Yeah.
There's too much money at stake. There's too much.
Too many people at stake.
Too
I
many
would
people
say.
at stake. It's a different. And see, that's what I find most liberating, and that's why also at the age of 24. I became essentially a novelist, and I decided on the medium of prose. See, before that, I was primarily a playwright. Like a lot of people in Bombay, and especially people from the theatre scene, or even people from the film scene, as I was. And so also screenplays, plays, that was my initial thing after comic books. So at the age of 24, after trying to get a play off the ground, after trying to make a film and that sort of thing, I decided at the age of 24 that I'm going to stick to literature because all I need is a pen and a piece of paper. So it's a resource-free art form.
Yeah.
I don't need anybody's funding and I don't need anybody else's time. I don't need to hassle anyone to make my work happen.
Yeah.
Of course, after the work materializes, then I still need to sell it to a
But that's
distribution.
that's not your headache, na, after
That's
a point.
exactly, but at least it exists.
Yeah.
It exists. What happens is when you write a play, or a play is different because a play can also be a literary experience. It can be read without being performed. But especially when you write a screenplay, that's half the battle won. The other half is how do you make that thing materialize. And there's countless examples before me in my life of friends, siblings, friends, cousins who have tried to make their dreams come true in that regard and it's not happened. So I had a lot of cautionary tales as far as that is concerned. And that's why at the age of 20.
And your father has had his hand in filmmaking.
My dad made one film in 2005 and he directed a short film right now after 17 years. And in fact, me and my brother used to keep joking with him that, this is the time for him to have made a film. When Indian cinema has evolved. Like 2005, you know what kind of movies you were making back then, right? We were making, it was a very constricted time at 2005.
यूं होता तो क्या
यूं होता तो क्या होता. And 2005 was a constricted time. Of course, there was great films made at that time. Vishal ji was still making brilliant films at that time, as was so many other filmmakers. But the general climate of the industry was towards commercialism. It was towards a specific kind of mainstream ethos, a kind of very. It was a very narrow-minded
palatable.
view. Yeah, exactly. And my dad also I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about the kind of stuff that I was trying to do. Shantan let me do it. Now, in his case, a thing that he wanted to do when he was directing a film is he wanted to have overlapping dialogue. There's this filmmaker called Robert Altman who used to do that a lot. And my dad wanted to try something similar. But then the sound recordist who's been around for so many years saying, sorry, ye possibly
एक ही track चलेगा.
Ye nahi hoga, sorry. Then, so these kinds of things, he wasn't able to execute his vision completely. Although that is a nice film. There's some good things. I quite like it. But anyways, the time for him to have made a film was probably in the recent last 5 years or so, because then Indian cinema, as we said, has become more realistic, more evolved, more natural.
So you're thinking of, but you
so he
guys...
directed. He did a short film. And now...
Is that the one that you acted in?
I acted in, that's right.
That's like a family production,
That's a full family production, Literally, like all of us were there. Brother AD'd him, basically. He was a DA. Really hands-on. The film is called MW. Yeah, it's a short film and it's a very sweet romantic film. And but I think he's got bitten by the filmmaking bug again. So let's hope that he makes some.
You heard it first.
And so that's the thing, is that going back to why I settled on literature is because I had all these countless examples before me of friends, siblings, friends, cousins who were trying to make their screenplays materialize but weren't being able to do that. And when I tried to do that with my play and a couple of screenplays, it didn't happen. 24, I said, okay, forget about everything else. I'm just going to stick to the written word. It's all about prose.
reader ko
exactly. There's just this
production वगैरह की क्या ज़रूरत
production hai nahi, exactly. It's just a pen and a piece of paper, and I find that very liberating. And if I may offer some, I guess, wouldn't call it advice, but definitely something that I can't emphasize enough. I keep stressing this to people in the audience, youngsters who are trying to find their medium and their art form, is that it's important when you're young and starting out to find something that's practical, that's doable, that's pragmatic. That's not a pipe dream, That's not something which is like it's something which is realizable, I think. That's very important. And COVID also taught us that. Because COVID, we are stuck at home. We all had to make do with the tools and equipment and resources that we had at home and try to create some kind of work during that period. So that's I think, a very essential thing.
It's really interesting you talk about the pragmatic aspect of writing. Because writing is usually thought of as this really artistic and this really wala art form.
Yeah.
But it's actually, as you said, it's like very सस्ता आर्ट फॉर्म है यार
बहुत सस्ता आर्ट फॉर्म है यार भाई. It's completely सस्ता आर्ट फॉर्म and it's also I find that liberating. As someone who's from the world of theatre and film, I find it liberating that I don't need to hassle anyone to make the work happen. All that's a great. It's like again when I was a kid, I used to draw comics. Same thing. It was that. It was a self-sufficient.
And I'm saying even if nothing happens, even if it doesn't get published, you can always like just self-publish it.
Absolutely.
You can always.
It exists.
It exists. At least a PDF version exists.
Exactly. And so every art form has different canvas. Like for instance, if you're a painter, you need an easel and a canvas. If you're a sculptor, you need a pound of clay. If you're a musician, you either need it depends on what kind of music, either acoustic guitar or if you're an electronic composer, that kind of, you need a full orchestra. There's different forms of that also. If you're a filmmaking, the canvas consists of something else. If you're a theatre,